Welcome back, everyone. As we see Elements taking some pictures with their fans. Well, a 2-0 week for them, that is enough reason to party. As for us, though, we are gearing up for our last game of the day. H2k is gearing up to take SK Gaming as they look to 2-0 in Rated Enco here in the summer split. Let's take a look at that lineup for H2k with Odoamne, Lulex, Ryu, Hjarnan, Kissing, and their coach Prali. So, yesterday, the big matchup. H2k versus Fnatic, our game of the week. But as we said in A block already, it all came down to shutting down Odoamne with the team from Fnatic.
Yeah, the lane swap from Fnatic where Odoamne more or less wasted his teleport towards the mid lane. It meant he couldn't do a whole lot. He really got set far behind. We see it here in your screen. He was down 62 CS at 20 minutes. That's massive. Huni got so far it because Fnatic were just one step ahead of H2k in that lane swap. And funny enough, the last time H2k and SK Gaming faced each other, it was standard lanes, but SK Gaming also put a lot of effort into shutting down Odoamne. They ganked him multiple times. They can look to do the same because it's proven to be fairly effective if you can shut him down early. Yeah,
as you mentioned, SK tried the strategy before. Let's take a look at the lineup for SK Gaming. 2-7 right now, and on the red side for this one, Freddy122, Svenskeren, Fox, Candy Panda, and Rated, and Lucas Schenke. So as we say there, Freddy going on this point, if it comes down to 1 versus 1, or do you think they will opt for lane swap, Stress?
It's an interesting one because I feel like while Freddy is typically very good at 1v1s, I think Odoamne has shown in other games that he's been a very, very strong 1v1 player. In the last time they played, it was good recognition by SK. They managed to just gank Odoamne 3 times before 10 minutes, so it didn't even matter how that lane matchup was going because they just kept picking up kill after kill after kill on Odoamne. Very similar strategy, as we said, to Fnatic, and I think they'll probably look to do the same thing again here in this game.
Yeah, the thing is, H2k as a team, they don't play for the laning phase. It's not about what you can do the first 10 minutes, so that's where SK Gaming can shine a bit more. Again, the few times they have faced these top-tier teams, they've done pretty well in the laning phase. Freddy and Sven together have been able to like camp the enemy top laner, maybe in the mid lane they managed to pick up a kill or two. So SK Gaming should try and get standard lanes and try and snowball the game from there. And I really feel like Odoamne has been maybe a little bit over-aggressive in the laning phase from time to time, and therefore he's very open to ganks.
Yeah, and for SK Gaming in the matchup, even though they haven't had the best split so far, some of their best games have been versus Fnatic, where they got ahead in the early game, versus H2k, where they got ahead in the early game. So it might be the opening for that in them, because yesterday, the game versus Elements is one they probably want to forget very fast and put a win on the board here. Now, as we check in with the casters for Champ Select, we'll hear from Enrated, and you can see the synergy in H2k's bottom lane, both on and off the Rift.
Coming to H2k, Kazing had a really great background, let's say it like that. I feel like he was in a lot of teams and he did good. He can match up with people, and I feel like that has come really great together with Hjarnan, who I think has shown really promise in terms of AD carry. And that just comes together with the support that just suits him, that adapts to him, and they seem to work together as a duo. That's a big difference to other bot lanes. You see them duo queuing all the time. They're really great with each other in person. They have great personalities. They really suit each other. They make a lot of fun, and I feel like that's the whole secret. As long as they work together and they have the skill to do it, they'll improve.
Some kind words there from Enrated on his opposing bot lane. Hey everybody, welcome again, because we're about to get ready to load up for our last Champ Select of week number 5. And Crepo, I think Shucks did say it. SK is going to want to look past yesterday and see if they can find an opening here in H2k.
Yeah, both teams with a loss yesterday, so they want to look
very different
victory.
loss.
And the first step to victory is always Champ Select.
Well, starting off right now, we'll see what they decide to do here. H2k will be our blue side team, SK on the red. And H2k,
give me that Sivir first pick.
The Cassiopeia is banned. Fox had some monster performances on that champion.
Yeah, target banning Fox, definitely a good idea for H2k right here. And then SK looking at the Kalista out. If you value Kalista, you should probably value Sivir too. Otherwise, H2k is just going to take it. They say we don't want to deal with that cheesy Shen. Keep those gobbles away from those lanes. No support system. Keep those lanes split up and then out macro them, out move them. 280 carry bans here. Both junglers are still, both of those top tier junglers are still available. They've really been targeting players rather than picking strong stuff. Are they going to go for the Rumble third ban here? Odoamne has shown a good performance yesterday. He did get shut down, but honestly, I feel only Fnatic could have done to H2k what they actually did right there. I'm sure if SK can do the same thing. However, SK usually plays to their enemy's level almost. You know, very sloppy game against Elements, but they had some close games against H2k last time. If you don't remember that game, all I have to say is Twisted Fate against Fox's Victor last time you saw that matchup, and then eventually Hjarnan with the Sivir.
They won't get it this time.
1v1ing Candy Panda's Vayne later in the game. Is Candy Panda going to go for that return Vayne? We see another Twisted Fate. Or just an Alistar pickup early. All possibilities.
Yeah, so the Alistar's available, no junglers banned. You've got Rek'Sai Gragas on the board.
The world is their oyster.
They have just about a lot of options since the target bans have really been in that bottom side. Thresh taken away from Kasing, who's, was known to first pick that they would have sometimes. Not so much lately, but you're right, the Alistar is up. I think this is something that also plays right up their alley. It would not
could also just see
surprise me.
a Rumble first pick for H2k here, or some generic jungle pick if they really feel like, if you just want to be reactive, say Lulix, just give me the Rek'Sai, I will do the job. Honestly, I just want to see them with some pressure in the lane so they don't allow Svenskeren to excel at what he does. H2k say, okay, junglers are both open, top lane pool is open wide, mid lane we can still get some semblance of a counter pick, and they go for the Corki. I was saying how I rated as a third decent option, and somebody actually asked me on Twitter, it's like, why? Why is Corki third pick right now? And then just take this moment to answer that lovely person. I just feel Corki offers a lot of versatility with a good early game, mid game power spike with that Triforce, and just the ability to clear waves. And that just adds a lot of tempo to the game. And I know I overuse that word sometimes too much, but it just allows you versatility, and especially in H2k style, you can get Hjarnan alone in lane, allowing Luex and Kasing to roam together. Later on, you can also just put Corki in the mid lane, and he can hold his own even in a level deficit against most mid laners, just in terms of wave clear. This then opens up the map for you to move your mid laner to the side lane, like H2k likes to do, so a solid pickup for them. SK with their turn to draft.
Yeah, they go ahead, they get the Gragas, they get the Gnar. But harken back a little bit for this Corki. This is, Hjarnan played it yesterday. Obviously, that didn't result in a win for them, but you can see that when AD carries are getting banned away against them, they're digging a little bit deeper. I want to see how comfortable he really is playing this and how comfortable. They clearly were making a statement to say, first pick, we want this. We dare you to see what you're going to grab. And Alistar's still up.
It's not much like dare what you want to grab. It's likely that Candy Panda will end up a Vayne here again. Or maybe a Caitlyn. It's just that it fits so many compositions, and obviously H2k have to pick the Rek'Sai here because you don't want to pick too much here. Because if you really had prior on a pick, you would have done a tier 1. So you don't want to reveal too much. You just want to say we're likely going to end up having our mid lane counter picked anyways, so we might as well pick it early. Jace is still a flex pick in the sense that he can go both top and mid, but it is extremely likely that it will go mid lane. And of course, they match tier 1 jungler in Rek'Sai for tier 1 jungler on the side of SK, Gragas. So not too much information given away, honestly, but H2k already with the semblance of a poke composition. So we might actually see a Janna come out later. Could be good against a Gnar. Gnar jumping in too with the Howling Gale and the Monsoon. Add a Rumble in there and you run the very obvious triple threat composition that obviously Fnatic likes to run too. So Rumble Janna might actually be a good way to finish up this composition.
And there's no danger of it being picked away either. So Lulu and Caitlyn are both picked up. Candy Panda decides to go back onto that. Instead of the Vayne option, should be a very long range auto attack for him to be getting ahead in the lanes. But again, H2k, they're the team that does like to take these swaps. Wouldn't be too surprising to see.
Yeah, and SK Gaming picking up the Lulu, very comfort picked for Enrated, really. He likes that Lulu because it offers offensive lane potential. Double push here. Caitlyn and Lulu can knock on your tower very quickly and just try and whittle that one down. Wild Growth, very easy to use in teamfights. Complement well with Gragas, with Gnar. So honestly, I feel it's almost a must ban against SK Gaming because I feel Enrated is considerably weaker on any support except Lulu. Now, is H2k gonna prove me right? Partially so. I imagine they have to go for a non-Alistar support here because the double range is just too big. Yeah, Janna comes out.
Left up. They take him and the Janna.
And then the Ryze instead of the Rumble. I feel this can complement it just so. Ryze is very immobile. You can get hunt down, but with some peel and disengage from the Janna, you can keep him alive in these fights and do a lot of damage.
Well, and we've seen in the right hands what he can do. This is a league right now here in Europe that has just such a high caliber of top laners, and Odoamne is among them. Even when Huni was pulling out that Ryze and he was getting poked out time and time again, or rather taken down, focused time and time again, he still was able to make big plays and come out massively ahead. That's something that I feel Odoamne can very much do, even if he does get set behind in this game.
Yeah, and you did talk about the lane swap, and this is such a very obvious situation where H2k wants to have normal lanes. in my opinion, they want to get that right scaling as quick as they can. Don't delay that tier. Don't delay that scaling all too much. Whereas SK, in a lane swap, they can take the towers down quickly, and the only really viable mid laner for Fox left is Azir. SK with honestly a well-rounded composition. Both teams here, different composition to a sense. That will be interesting. I think Oduamne is the #1 priority on H2k. Keep going. However, if he falls behind, they can play the game pseudo 4v5 still because they have double poke. Magic on Corki and 80 on Jace. And we saw what Feverin could do with a Fed Jace.
Really, you mean? Well, yeah. I'm really interested to see what they do decide to do in the early game. I think I agree that getting Oduamne ahead is important. Against Fnatic, it did not work when he was set behind. This is a guy that is doing roughly a third of the damage of his team. Is the highest damage percentage out of top laners. And when he got shut down, the game did not end well for H2k.
Yeah, but honestly, that also is to the merit of the way Fnatic kept snowballing that advantage. SK have shown weaknesses in their macro gameplay a little bit, but they're improving steadily. They asked for more time. How much time do they really have? About 10 to 20 seconds before we get to game, and then they have to be ready.
Just about, and that's all we got for that one. So why don't you guys tell us what you think for this last game of week number 5. Go ahead and hit up at LOL Esports with hashtag H2KWin or hashtag SKWin if you think when these two take it out on the Rift, who's going to come away with it at the end of the day, H2K or SK. So we're getting ready to start up. You can see history of the team and all the way into the present. Yep. Crowd still here, still making noise. And here we go, onto the Rift.
Yeah, pretty much packed studio right behind me, full crowd. Always love the energy. It was nice to hear.
Feel it right through the floor sometimes.
Yeah. Let's see how these matchups play out. Usually when there's no distinct grouping, I usually like to just go over the matchups. Say what I know, what I don't know. Haven't seen Azir into Jace too much. Feel like the early poke is on Azir's side, but then once the Jace starts scaling up and farms pretty decently on the tower. It's always a joy to watch a good Jace player CS on the tower because he has that W that he can activate for maximum attack speed shots. And plan out the minion attacks. Look at bot lane. Lulu Caitlyn is very strong. Both in a 2v2 and a siege scenario, but Janak Corki could lose that lane gracefully. He will get behind him. Kasing finds himself a belly.
Shield out a little bit late. Got to be careful there. Janna is not the best champion to check face first into a brush with.
Yeah, and H2K want to find the ideal lanes right here. They're scouting. I really don't feel like they want to play a lane swap. I think Janak Corki could go even gracefully against Caitlyn Lulu. Maybe 10 CS, 20 CS behind, but that's fine. Because once you hit level 6, without too big of an item disparity, Corki can always farm in lane. He can always get around 70% of that CS on his own merit. You can free up the Janna to roam around. Note later in the game, why this Janna is so good in poke comps? Because these double poke comps lately, whether it's a Varus, whether it's an Ezreal or a Jace, they all have 80 based poke, and here Freddy reveals himself, so should they have the option to switch it back up, but it's too late for them.
Very, very late.
Oduamne double jungling right here. But yeah, that Janna shield, that 80 steroid can always buff that poke from Jace later in the game. And they give full XP to Kasing here. Notice how he's level 2, so he's gonna wander into the enemy jungle and see if he can find out something, get some information. See how this game plays out further.
Kasing is coming around the side. Are they going to look to try to go very early in onto Freddy? Well, they don't really have enough to really finish him.
Surprise, NATO!
Connect either.
No shocks involved, so not the strongest one of NATO's. And this is SK's lane swap style. They send Freddy in there immediately, and usually it ends up with him being dove and dying. So let's see if he actually learns his lesson. Very outdated lane swap style and gets punished a lot. He wants to soak experience, but meanwhile Oduamne is getting some too. And Rated hasn't based yet. Svenskeren hasn't based yet, so SK has no intention of coming to help Freddy here. And look at the top lane. Look at the jungler duo Q coming up there. Oduamne has a snare too. This wave just has to go in. And once these guys start pushing quicker, Freddy knows what's up. The second they don't slow push to deny him, he knows what's coming, and may very well be too late.
Does he have a chance to get out? We'll have to see. Odoamne looking for him.
I feel like H2k could have done more there, but they were afraid of N-Rated, and Svenskun obviously joining the party potentially. However, N-Rated did show on the bottom tower, so yeah, questionable early game.
Definitely. H2k will, after a bit of a wonky start, be able to start 4v0ing this top tower. Meanwhile, Candy Panda and Rated are only 2 members down bottom, with some attention being paid to the mid here by Svenskeren. Fox is trying to bait Ryu into a bad situation. So
actually,
get the poke out.
I may have been wrong. If they bounce this wave, just thinking out loud here, if they bounce this wave and hand it over to Odoamne, then they can actually put him ahead relatively to his lane opponent and actually give that guaranteed early game start to the Rise, because they guarantee that he stays even with Freddy by double jungling. Then they bounce the wave backwards, his full HP, full resources. Leave some ward so he doesn't get ganked. It's actually a good start for the Rise if he can get his tier early. It'll be slightly later, but at least he doesn't run the risk of getting that level 3 gank from the Gnar Gragas. So maybe that was H2k's plan after all, and maybe my knowledge was outdated.
We'll have to see if it works out for them. As it stands, what you said in Champ Select still holds. I think Odoamne getting him ahead is the key to this one. Ryu will be able to land a lot of poke. We've already seen some very deadly Jaces since his resurgence in the LCS. Yarnan should be able to provide consistent damage, but Odo is going to be the one who historically has been able to step up and carry.
Yeah, and because H2k took that tower first, they had the base advantage. They went down. They know Candy Panda's not going to get more than a pickaxe, so it doesn't matter if he goes a little later. And because Freddy's showing in the top lane, it's pretty obvious that SK's bot lane is going to go back to bot, so everything is telegraphed for now. H2k is playing with full information. As we see Fox dropping low on mana, Ryu still has sustained, so eventually Fox will have to base. So the pressure advantage on H2k's side, and crucial, if Svenskun can get a dive on Odoamne, that could tilt this game. But doesn't look like that's possible right here.
May not be, but N-Rated could be falling right into the trap as he has to burn Flash, immediately finding Kasing and Lulex in his sights. H2k now turning their attention towards this bottom turret where Candy Panda is just standing right under it. He may not be standing for much longer, cutting off his supply line. Lulex is in there. Candy Panda recognizes. They're taking way too much time though, and Lulex has to flash. Abort mission. H2k can't get it done.
And your jungle's level 2. You know Freddy still has his teleport. He is equal levels with Odoamne, but the 4v3 dive on the tower is never going to work. Not against double range with shield. Yes, N-Rated flash is down, but Lulex should probably be farming a little more to go even, because Svenskun is amassing quite a big experience advantage. This is the opportunity cost of getting Odoamne ahead. Lulex just hits level 3 right about now. Whereas Gragas on Svenskun, he's already level 5. 2 levels down.
Could be a problem for them indeed. So, Kasing getting a little poked out by N-Rated there. Lulex is definitely going to be a little bit further down, and Odoamne and Freddy are like trading even here, so...
No, Odoamne has to keep that minion wave out of the tower, because he definitely doesn't want to get dove. Svenskun. However, that minion wave is pushing out, which should prove easy. And look at it, he's a full level ahead, or not quite a full level, half a level ahead of Freddy right here. So Operation Feed Odoamne is going well, but at the cost of their own jungler. And he's the only tanky member on H2k too, so definitely spells out an interesting mid game.
Will indeed. Have to keep some tabs on that one. Svenskeren doing a little bit of the counter jungle mission. He gets out nice and easy. Only takes the Prey Seeker from Lulex. Still heavy pushing by Candy Panda and Raid in the bot. This is to be expected. You've got that Caitlyn, Lulu double poke lane. It's going to be very hard for Yarnan and Kasing to get much done. And they don't have a tower to fall back to either, so they have to go back all the way to a second tier. Yeah, big wave is coming towards them.
Big gold lead, relatively, for the state of the game here for SK Gaming. 1,000 gold ahead purely on farm. But there's still a lot of gold to be picked up in that bottom lane 4. On the Corki on H2K side, and it's just amassed basically in the jungle and in the bot lane, honestly, where the most of the advantages lie. Kasing gets forced out, but once Corki hits 6, it frees up Kasing as a resource. Yarnan will not get punished by this double range. Not heavily enough, and he can always range farm a bit. But Lulex, his jungle's running dry. He's running out of camps, and you almost have to move to the opposite side of the map to get them. Svenskun is consistently counter jungling. Hasn't spent much time in his own jungle, and this is putting H2k in a precarious position.
Well, it's not one that they've been used to being in. Despite that loss yesterday, H2k have been, sitting close to the top of the standings. SK doing what they're doing to this H2k team right now. they are looking to, you know, separate themselves from the rest of those bottom 7 that we're talking about and get themselves further ahead in this. Right now, they're making a statement that, yes, we can do it, and they've outthought H2k on a couple of levels.
Definitely outmoving them. Gold gap just closed a little bit right now, 200 gold difference. That massive wave got picked up on the bottom, and Odoamne's even into the Rise Gnar matchup, so this is good for H2k. Remember, they're running a poke composition that really excels in the mid game. So as long as they group up, and then, yeah, as you point out for me, as we saw here, Pyra, double tier. And that is risky. Double tier often gets, you know, praised for having fantastic mid to late game if it scales up, but it's so risky to play early because you don't have combat stats. You spend 700 gold just for mana, for repetitive poke, but once it charges up, you can do a lot of damage.
For SK's team too, I mean, they've got some late game threat themselves.
Look right now what H2k is doing. They're setting up for the signature 5-man bot lane party. Ryu pushes in mid lane and moves first. Ooh,
Nearly
so close. Odoamne is in the bot lane. I believe he got spotted by a ward.
Yeah, Svenskaren's gonna go ahead and find Lulex, throws the big barrel. That's first blood, and it goes to N-rated. H2k just don't seem in sync right now.
Yeah, very telegraphed group here. We saw Ryu move over, and just gonna double check on my...
Good shock blast though.
He wasn't spotted by a ward. That's a Caitlyn trap in the bottom brush, but they knew it was coming, and Lulex got spotted out, and we saw it right there. Level 5 Lulex on Rek'Sai. Level 6 Svenskeren. And honestly, if you want to group on a bot lane, you just want to show up in front of that tower and just double poke. Honestly, instead of going for that dive, very counterintuitive towards their lineup.
That was the cost of getting this Rise ahead. You look at the CS numbers, that's not even currently the case anymore. Maybe Odoamne can make a play here, but Freddy's already hopped his way to safety. Still farming up, stacking that tier, but as you mentioned, this is risky. This is late game. If SK utilizes the moments of weakness that H2k have, let's see if they can get themselves ahead in this game and try to take down H2k.
Yeah, Odoamne was in such a good position, but now he falls down 10 CS, 12 CS, whereas previously he was bang on even. Spending his teleport as well, as Freddy has teleport advantage, Svenskeren has vision advantage. SK has push advantage. A lot of advantages here for SK, and this will manifest in their first Dragon of the game.
Well, after that, they'll have Dragon advantage. Looks like it is going to go uncontested as H2k are in the dark about this one. Picked up, confirmed by Svenskeren. Candy Panda continues to poke out. Well, N-rated was a little bit away.
Power spikes you want to look for. Corki Triforce and whatever items Jace will have at that point. He wants to Mura mana as quick as he can. Add a BF sword to that and just start poking. Chipping away at those towers. However, Azir and Lulu, Azir and Caitlyn, whole lot of wave clear. So you really want to force them out and then threaten the flank. But the person usually flanking Lulex is so far behind this game. He has 21 CS.
Rated, could be caught here. Monsoon, or Howling Gale, I should say. Ignite is on, forced to wild growth himself. A rocket connects, but it doesn't have enough damage in Rated. I don't think he expected that one to come through. Yarnin took some damage as well, but he's fine.
Svenskeren still in that red jungle. Trying to find an opening on Ryu here. He looks to go over the wall. But Ryu knows he's safe on his left flank. Good positioning by him.
Odoamne continues to be down in the CS. Now meanwhile, back to the mid. Svenskeren shows himself, and they just keep him away from his own tower. He's gonna go down after 2 big ultis.
Just as I praised the positioning from Ryu. Moves back to the middle of the lane. Svenskeren goes over and uses that level advantage. Lulex just hit 6, and look at the tower, Pyra.
Yeah, the caster curse is real, Crepo. Lulex, he's got 6. He's gonna have to try to make himself look a little bigger than he is versus SK to try and push them off here. But Svenskaren's already backed off. He's going to be going up to the top. Odo could be in some trouble. Let's see if he backs into the safety of his tower.
What happened to the ever so proactive H2k that it was always a couple of steps ahead? Only SK is stepping to the plate right here. They asked for time. They got time, and they're proving that they have not played this game tremor since. Lulex, do you really want to go there?
He makes some big tremors. Freddy's there in Mega Gnar form, so you got to be careful, Lulex. Meanwhile, Odoamne is still going to soak farm up in the top, but as it stands, SK Gaming, 13 minutes in, they've got themselves 2,000 gold ahead. Dragon advantage by 1, and they are the ones making plays on the map.
Yeah, an N-rated finished. Moby Boots, Sidestone. the bread and butter from supports right now, and he can move around the map quicker, much quicker than Kasing can at the moment. Yes, Janna has a bit of a movement speed steroid on her own, but yeah, SK in prime position, but we've seen many teams get a lead, take out those first row of towers, tier 1s, or chip away at them, but then fail to take it a step further. And we've seen H2k come back from losing early games too, and they still haven't hit their spike yet, so it's too early to count anybody out, because we know, if you watch the Fnatic game, just how much damage a Jace can do. Absolutely true.
Ryu looking to emulate Febvin on that one, and he's still got a ways to go. You mentioned, you know, these tiers, they take a while to stack, and you know, it's a long-term investment for H2k, but this hasn't really been their MO throughout the split. Yes, it's maybe changing a little bit, but they've usually been the team that gets to head. They go these 10 to 20 minutes and then get up and get ahead and get a big power spike and, you know, take fights around, translate those into towers. It's not happening so far. They've only got one tower versus SK, who are standing strong here. Now, SK Gaming, they continue to try and control this pace, get themselves into a happy mid-game, so where they have power troughs in that Caitlyn, where they have power troughs in the Azir, they'll be able to compensate for that with their lead.
Yeah, SK, honestly looking to play a very passive game here until the second dragon. It seems, ironically, this was, or not ironically actually, just history tends to repeat itself, because last time they faced off, SK finished the game with 4 dragons to none, if I recall correctly. So H2k got behind in dragons, but eventually Rio found an opening with his TF porting in and taking out a Fox every time. And it looks like this game is back on Rio's shoulders.
Right now, if they will be able to step up to the plate and carry, that's what H2k is hoping for. Odoamne will still have some time.
Ooh, that misses.
Blast not connecting.
He has to clear the wave.
There's an opening here for SK. They're going to be able to finish off this tower, and they do.
Yeah, Rio
2-1 for them.
Tries to connect the poke that would then splash onto the wave, but misses, and this is crucial. Just sacrifices his tower there. When you run a Jace, you have to take a choice whether you will hit the minions or Odoamne going in.
Yes, he is. Freddy's in mini Gnar. It's going to be a while to stack it up.
3 snares.
He has to burn his flash. Odo is going to get out of dodge, though. Lulex coming back around the side. Is this just a feint? It looks like it.
Acting.
Praise Seeker. Narbar stacking.
Oh, he's out.
He's going to be nice and safe. Fox is there for defense as well. They might be baiting this one. And Odoamne go is down. Fox tricked by Freddy.
Yeah, H2k a step behind against SK Gaming here, falling for very easy tricks, and SK honestly playing very well as a team. Continuously helping each other. Freddy knowing his limits. Knows that the Rise just doesn't do that much damage just yet. Yeah, very different H2k. 4,000 gold in the lead right now, SK Gaming. Impressive performance.
Very impressive indeed. And remember, you hark back to the last time these two met, that was back in week 3. It was quite a long game. It took a little while to get going. There were these back and forth fights. SK controlled the dragons, though. They were the ones that were prioritizing this, and H2k just, they didn't seem to care. They even gave up a Baron, but they still were able to finish him off.
H2k in that game had a very different comeback mechanic. They had the triple threat with the TF pouring in, but right now, they're playing with a whole different team composition. They have poke, and poke from behind is so incredibly hard to play because, yeah, quite obviously people would just get too tanky and they would just not care, and as long as you can't keep up that minion wave clearance, then you're falling behind, and then SK will punish you and just straight up dive you. The composition. Gnar can get into the side, Svensson can go in, knock somebody back.
So can
Showing a shuffle with Fox, and then if somebody gets caught and clumped upon, then Wild Growth will be the answer from SK Gaming.
We'll see if that does come to pass with this dragon coming up. H2k will be moving into position, or at least attempting to. Still some pressure on the top by Odoamne, dealing with Freddy, but it is N-rated who's the one who takes the brunt of that shock blast back in the middle. They might have to reevaluate their positioning. Crab's going to be fought over. Looks like Candy Panda will be able to secure it.
Yeah, Kosu Pepper was the first one this weekend to feel the brunt force of that Jace poke, as we see Odoamne square off with Freddy yet again.
Those stuns.
Technically snares. I also feel like
you got, all right, you got me.
Feel like you're perma-stunned with the rate they're coming out there. Ira. Snares even worse, because you.
Yes. I've been wrong about those before.
You can cast abilities, or you can watch people hammer you in the face over and over. Torment. Yeah, Odoamne, he's charging up. Jace is charging up. Corki just hit his power spike, so that might buy enough power for H2k to stay in this fight. Want to contest this dragon. They have to poke their way in, and SK might just all in the dragon. Look at Fox. I thought for a second he was going to flank, but yeah. The next JSQ is going to be big.
Yeah, but they're going to have to make a move now. Candy Panda's taking a lot of damage from that Shock Blast. H2k decides this is the time. Can they secure the dragon? They get pushed back. Lulex is there. The Monsoon is going to keep them alive, and it is secured. They take it away from SK. Meanwhile, though, Odawamne is going to be the one taken down. And it is a 1-for-0. Yarnan trying to beat a hasty retreat.
Look at bot wave, though.
Should be able to do it. There is a big bunch of minions that SK can take advantage of, and they're just buying time, stopping the ports. Svenskeren, low as he is, can push on this tower. Fox waiting for Ryu. Will he be in danger? I think so. Gonna have to burn his flash. Summoner heal immediately.
Good read by Fox. He knows that Ryu wants to go to that bot wave to clear all those minions, but not in time. Svenskeren pushes it in. SK trade 1 kill and 1 tier 2 tower for a dragon on H2k, and honestly, get better of that trade. However, H2k stopped their bleeding, so now they have more time to scale up that poke. But
that dragon was really crucial for them, but they're still down 5,000 gold. It's just ridiculous. SK have been the ones been able to push these towers all across the way. Odo needs more time to charge, but it seems like he just isn't going to have that much.
Yeah, and Lulex, he's a jungler that will always go sidestone, right? So he's this tanky ward bot for his team that shadows the lanes, and when they snowball, it goes well because he keeps pace with the game perfectly so with his item build. But right now, he fell behind, and I've honestly seen supports with more CS 20 minutes than what he has right now. 40 CS, he's down a lot, and it's not like it's his fault, you know. H2k as a team chose to give priority farm to Odawamne, but he sacrificed a lot of that momentum by going bot lane for that signature dive. Good read by SK Gaming. They stopped him there. Got a dragon. Honestly, reading this game very, very well.
Yes, they are, and they definitely had to be watching that footage yesterday. H2k against Fnatic. You said it back in Champ Select. This is a team that people have been having a hard time figuring out what their weak points are, and that revealed some of them. See if SK can continue to press their advantages here. Odawamne and Lulex are under the tower, but they turn their attention to Candy Panda. Wild Growth is on him. He's still going to go down. It's Odawamne who takes him down for his first kill, and rated a bit low, but it's going to be Sven coming around the side. Will he be able to keep him alive? The barrel
Here's
Jace. Down, Shock Blast misses. There is the explosive cast, but Ryu's there, and he is going to be able to get the big hammer to the Lulu. Yarnan in some trouble from Fox, but flashes out of danger. 2 kills for H2k.
Yes, zero hesitation play there, and look at how Lulex handed over that kill to Odawamne. He could have sniped that kill, but he knows his role within the team is just supportive right now, and even though that Shock Blast missed from Jace, we saw how much damage Ryu was doing to the Flashless and rated, and yeah, this even out to the mid game here. Zero almost made a pick off on Kjarnan. That damage is still real. That was without the Janna shield, by the way. That Janna shield hit right after the Shock Blast connected, so with shield that will do even more damage.
Started to become a real threat for SK. They have to kick this game into high gear and use their gold lead to translate into an objective lead. As it stands, they still have those 3 towers, but Fox, he can't safely farm anymore as far back as he was.
And that was with enrated shielding. Fox in the mid lane right there. Rank 4 Lulu shield. Got evaporated and still took such a chunk out of Fox's ear, so win condition for H2k with the double poke is still very much so alive. And their late game condition, called Rise, ever so vital and alive still. So by no means are they out of this game. However, they're finding themselves 4,000 gold behind. Soon to be 5 as this tower crumbles.
Down into dust it goes, and SK Gaming will have 4-1 on the edge. The gold lead, about 5,000 here still. Dragons have been even, but H2k are the ones who are fighting back. It's SK that need to be able to make these plays before the game gets out of hand, and Lulex is the one who's going to be trying to start this, but he runs into Fox and Svenskeren, and he's taken down, alone and friendless. That was not the Void Rush you were looking for.
Very, very... The jungle is dark and full of terrors. Sense won't help you there, as he walks in and just dies. Why would you go that deep with your Rek'Sai ultimate when you have Kjarnan split pushing in the bot lane? SK, 5 kills, 5 towers in unison. Not looking for the 5th dragon anymore because they have a 5,000 gold lead. A lot of 5s right here.
5, 5, 5, and 5, and SK Gaming looking to grab themselves a win over H2k here. It would certainly help them to boost themselves up in the standings. A win over the second place team or getting close to that, as H2k need to fight back, but they're making questionable mistakes here. They're making decisions that seem uncharacteristic of them.
And if you would look at the map and you would cover team names and you look at the vision, the state this game is in right now, you would imagine that H2k was the red team. Look at those pink wards, 3 pink wards around the map. 6, 7, 8 wards, complementing that to SK in full vision control right now. Full information, and they're honestly using it for what is one of the first times in the LCS, in my opinion. Playing a lot better than they did yesterday, and it almost seems true that SK plays to the level of their opponents.
Starting to believe that myself, and really, H2k, I don't think they're playing to the level of their usual selves. This might be the opening for SK Gaming to get back on the board. As it stands though, another Dragon will be up in 30. You mentioned it's not necessarily SK's primary concern as one was taken away by H2k, but the latter will be looking to secure some vision up here. Odo's backing, he's got his TP up, vision being cleared out. You know where the priority is for H2k at the moment.
Now, we still mentioned it before, we have a double tier composition from H2k coming out here on the rise, on the Jace, and Ryu is about 100 mana away from getting that Mura mana. Seraphim's Embrace finally finished for Odoamne. There's going to be some big spikes, and honestly, they'll need him. H2k is looking to take their 6th tower here in the top lane, but Odoamne does his best Rooney impression. Makes that wave disappear. Sven.
Looking to maybe get them to knock back into the team, but instead...
Flash over the NATO. Quite impressive, but just barely doesn't connect.
So quick from that one that you can tell that they're not wanting to take these fights. They're wanting to take the poke that they have, and Rated, look at his health bar. It's just
this
going
is
down
why
so
I
fast.
like Yarn so much as an AD carry. He's not afraid. He knows his team's on the defensive, but he sees this tiny opening where he can chunk the enemy support down to 50% health, and now... And Rated is in kill range. One Chuck Blast out of the blue, and he can straight up die.
He does have his wild growth available though, but if he has to use it on himself,
He's
that's not
steal.
so great. SK too quick on the draw. They do secure
here's
the
Odoamne
Dragon, but yeah, there's the teleport, there's the fight. Odoamne slowed down. Can SK get out of dodge fast enough, or will they turn the fight? It's going to be Emperor's Divide, pushing Lulex and Odo back. SK scattering around to try to avoid the poke damage. Looks like they might have gotten out scot-free.
Yeah, look at how H2k refused to flash over that wall. They know. They want to get caught there. They just want to poke, poke, poke. Ooh.
Keep on trying, nearly not connecting that shock blast.
Good job by SK realizing as well that they were getting flanked on. They took the ideal path out. Survive, but now they're getting siege upon. This is what H2k wants to do, because you become predictable when you're under a tower, because your movement pattern is so predictable if you want to clear those waves. Luckily for SK, no minions to be spotted, but this might be an opening for H2k to even out the turrets. Still a tier 1 tower open in the mid lane.
Much needed gold if they do take it down, but Svenskeren and Rated and Fox are rushing to try and defend this. There are some minions. It's only Odo pushing on the mid. They will not be able to take it, as the cavalry was there for the defense. SK Gaming still closing the gaps, but still some close calls with the poke from H2k.
5,000 gold down. Still those 5 kills and still those 5 towers. H2k might have to dial 555. Help me, please. Get out of this game.
Call themselves a lifeline, that is for sure. No one could have expected that this is how the game would have played out, just looking at the standings and the playstyles of these two teams. SK showing up unexpectedly, but definitely showing up.
Yeah, good game so far. Can they close, though, is the question. Yesterday they had a substantial lead, and the way that was apparent to close out the game against Elements, but they couldn't find an opening. And even though the gold is this big of a difference, H2k has been pressuring back. We haven't seen Svenskeren spend as much time in H2k's jungle as he did in the earlier stages of the game. As we group up, these pokes become so big that if SK eats 1 or 2, their gold advantage suddenly crumbles. Fox has a sidestep, rockets left side, Chase shock blasts on the right side, amplified by the Janna shield.
This is a point in the game where H2k are definitely feeling a little more confident. They don't have to worry as much about the damage from Candy Panda. Caitlyn, you know, in this mid game, it's still turning into the late game. We're not quite there yet. It's not going to be as helpful. I think Cyanide summed up the usefulness last week, but they still have to be careful.
Svenskeren can take that poke though. That might be operation from SK here. Let him eat all the skill shots. Something I could do. I'm incredibly good at eating skill shots. Maybe Gragas is a champion that I should start playing.
I've definitely seen it once or twice. For SK Gaming, though, continue to try and cover their own flanks. But Candy Panda, he is in a bad spot. Prey Seeker, not enough damage to finish him.
And they're rotated out of mid lane right now. They have to enter into the mid lane, and this is easy poke for Ryu.
Keep them in a bad spot.
Gnar.
He's going to be hopping and skipping and jumping, but he can't defend this tower on his own.
Svenskeren's flanking.
They don't know he's quite there. The tower's down. Will they be able to get out? Svenskeren's not going to want to try to take a fight, so they do.
Yeah, this is the risk SK run when they commit for vision into one of these objective areas. If they leave their mid lane exposed, it doesn't take much. If you get a Jace with that quick shot from the W coming out with a Janna shield, he can destroy half the health of the tower in those 3 shots immediately. So make sure your waves are pushed before you rotate for an objective. And if you do, make sure you can at least threaten to take the objective within 10 to 15 seconds. Otherwise, you may just lose yourself a tower.
Gotta have
face full of poke.
Quick feet to avoid those shock blasts. Ryu is really stepping up to the plate this game. That's something we haven't seen for a little bit. We haven't seen as many Jannas. Sing running that Soul Stealer. Very smart because you just don't die on Janna very much, but he's not got a lot of stacks for it to begin with.
Yeah, and if you have to look, he finishes the Talisman, which is mobility, which he needs. All he has to do is amplify that poke and then disengage. And honestly, as you say, he's not going to die because he's not going to get into the fight. And usually you see a Mikhail's Crucible come out here, but there's nothing on SK's side aside from the Polymorph from Lul. Like a Sync and Hex, so more AP means a bigger shield, means more damage on Ryu. Look at that shield. It blocks Caitlyn ulti straight up. Look at that poke.
And you can't stop those shock blasts. H2k look like they found themselves an opening. The armor shred there is going to be the barrel away. Candy Panda's in a little bit of trouble as Ottawamne is causing some havoc here. Candy will go down to Ryu. Odo will finally fall. Picked up by Fox. Freddy and Meganar, though, is going to make H2k reevaluate this fight in a 1-for-1 trade. But the poke war continues.
Yeah, and Fuck does a lot of damage on that mid lane Azir. He's very strong now. He had a big spike.
He's definitely arrived. Sundisk's going to get worn away here as SK are backing away.
What is he building? Is he getting... He's at first Rabadons. But is there room for second Rabadons?
How many hats can he wear?
What is he going for?
I think it looks like
an blasting wand. Void Staff.
Void Staff after that, yeah. He's just building 2 pieces.
Fox says, I'm getting so much gold here that I can build my items together, not one by one.
Really feeling confident. 4-0-1 on this game, too. He's definitely had a big impact. High kill participation for SK. It has been a lower kill game. With them rotating around, grabbing objectives. Dragon, speaking of objectives, is going to be up in about 10 seconds. SK setting up and securing vision. H2k not in a position to react to this, so this should go over to SK Gaming.
Yeah, and once SK groups, though, Freddy wasn't as tanky as he would like to be. He has some MR from that Mallet Mamosius, but combine that with the Frozen Mallet. Honestly, a couple of Triforce procs from Hjarn took him down to half HP pretty easily. And they're not going to start the Baron, they're just going to fake it out and force SK to run into the poke. Not sure if SK will bite, because they can just run down mid lane here, trade objectives. Let's see how confident they are in the shot calling.
They've left Candy Panda here to work on this Dragon, but now H2k caught themselves in the choke, forcing Kasing to monsoon this one. Candy Panda should be able to easily solo out this Dragon. Meanwhile, SK are pressuring down mid with 4. They get one right there.
Despite prompt and engage, though, H2k will hear that sound and they say, hey, wait a minute, who's soloing that Dragon then? Candy Panda, we can just engage.
Maybe it's SK that can re-engage on this one. Freddy was taking a little bit of poke, but he was able to return fire. Lulex's going in, wants to start this fight. It's going to be Freddy, and then rated that are low, but Fox comes around the side as Freddy picks up Lulex, fighting as the blue buff. Fox is right in the middle of the mix. Fox is not involved in this fight anymore. It's a 1-for-1 trade. H2k, they get the better of that. They lose a tank, but they pick up a carry.
Yeah, good trade there for H2k. The Hjarn is so fearless. He just continuously walks up forward because he knows if anybody turns around to fight, he has to support a Ryu and Sing to keep him alive. Good trade right there. They get Fox's, I think it was a killing spree. Must have been, unless he died exactly on 2 deaths. And now SK have to be careful because that Baron can die very, very quickly.
A lot of games with H2k, you have to be careful, have to respect them. You said this was a risky comp, but it is a comp that H2k have committed to, and they are starting to scale. 33 minutes on the game, and rated that shield. Oh, it's just not nearly enough. He doesn't get it all down in time. Seeing Ryu and Yarnin around the side, clearing vision in this jungle of SK. Looking at it, you definitely think they were the ones in the lead, but right now they're facing a goal deficit, but they're still pushing SK in.
But they're closing in that goal deficit ever so slightly, and as the game goes on, percentually talking, that goal deficit means less and less and less, especially now that for quite a while, Ryu has hit that Muramana spike, added BS Sword, added Brutalizer, penetrated armor with Last Whisper.
He hurts.
He hurts a whole lot. You almost want SK to walk into the Shock Blast and then flash over it forward.
Oops, Sven Skaren. Can't connect the barrel. Odoamne is going to get knocked, however, by the big one. And Yarnin,
in trouble.
He's caught, but he manages to get a pick off onto Sven before it all happens. Odo's going to follow him down, however, and Lulex has to tunnel away. The rest of H2k not there. Emperor's Divide, you are denied. And SK Gaming pick up another kill there. 3 for 1, but Candy eats a big shock blast. Can they finish this Baron in time?
Yeah, we talked about how fed Ryu was and how strong he was, but they fought without him. Now Ryu just wants to poke him down.
Still keeping time on this Baron. Freddy, Meganar gets the big one. That's a shutdown though for Ryu, because Sing pops the Monsoon. All of a sudden, they have to back. 2 kills, the Baron assist, and Ryu chasing down N-Rated and Candy Panda. And a triple! How about it, Ryu?
Holy moly! What did Ryu eat for breakfast? Fantastic play. Connects on the right targets at the right time and gets some assistance from Baron buff. And yeah, H2k, hopefully you learned your lesson. Don't fight without Ryu, because holy moly, he does a lot of damage.
I think SK had to learn that lesson too. Don't fight when Ryu's there. 6-1, teleport in for Odo. They're gonna look to rush this Baron down. It's spotted by SK's ward, but still some time on Candy Panda, Fox, and Freddy. Sven could attempt the Miracle Steal, but he's got to be careful to dodge the Shock Blast. And Rated is there as well. In goes Odoamne. They're going to turn their attention with just him. Big barrel to try and push him back. Teleport now for Freddy as he's come back off of Fountain.
Not sure
Odo's
I like
still standing
that.
strong. Baron going low. Sven Skaren comes in. The steal is complete. Sven Skaren comes up with it, and Freddy picks off Odoamne.
Very questionable flash from Odoamne. He tries to jump on Svenskeren, chunking out. Svenskeren is simply too tanky. In return, H2k know that they just lost damage on Baron. They can't burst it down anymore. Let's watch it again. He flashes over. Snare, hit, just not enough. It keeps him alive, and now H2k loses damage on Baron, and they're pressured because the longer they wait, the more people from SK come back, and they burn down the Baron and Svenskeren. This is a beautiful steal and game-saving. See if SK can use this 5,000 gold lead with the Baron buff, because now no longer does Ryu just simply one-shot that wave. They need 2 shockwaves, perhaps even 3 to get through that. And H2k might lose some more towers.
So with that, the momentum shifts back that way. SK Gaming still with the gold lead, still with the Dragon lead, now with a stolen Baron in their pockets, start to head down the top lane. Merrily, merrily with the minions at their back. The Janus shield won't keep it there for long. The Shock Blast not doing nearly enough, and down it goes. 6 towers to 4. SK looking to start firing on the inhibitors. And the siege will commence. Meganar up. Will they dare to face themselves on directly? They're going to give this tower up. Now they go in, but it is going to be Odo going down. Oh no, Candy Panda gets the kill credit, and SK Gaming can now take themselves an inhibitor on the back of a big minion wave. They surf it to a couple objectives and a kill.
Yeah, Svenskeren with his ultra tanky build, Frozen Heart, Cinder Hulk. And right now a Banshee's Veil finished too.
Fox.
He is the anti-poke. Ryu looking for some more target practice.
Fox's back got stopped there as the rest of his team was able to get away. Fox has to flash the Shock Blast.
Oh, Ryu's so good on Jace.
Oh, man.
But his team is not allowing him to carry. Give away the Baron. That did more harm for H2k than the benefit they would have gotten from getting that Baron, honestly. Yeah, 10 out of 12 deaths on SK right now are on Lulex and Odoamne.
Yeah, H2k have got themselves in a little bit of a strange situation. We said that Odo's usually the one who steps up and carries. Obviously, it didn't happen yesterday. He's got himself 1-6 to the 6-1 of Ryu this time. You can see H2k are relying on something a little bit different this game, but the problem is SK are moving forward with this lead. Dragon number 4 now being fired on, and they have to give this away.
Now this means 6 minutes from now, SK will be able to challenge 5th Dragon, potentially Baron 2. So right when this Baron buff expires, roughly a minute 30, 2 minutes from now, I imagine. That's when H2k have a window for the next 3 or 4 minutes where they have to start poking again, pushing out again, get map control. Because you don't want to find yourself in the darkness. Dragon spawning. Baron buff is out actually already. Lost track of time.
Still got some power to push though. See if H2k can stop this one. They've got all that poke. Odo's here with his home guard boots.
Candy Panda still goes low. We need one opening, that's all we need.
Coins procced.
We're gonna see some fights.
SK nothing doing. They're gonna back away from that. Do not want to give it up.
And H2k, they're at the verge of going 0-2 here this weekend.
If they lose this one too, this will be the first loss they've been handed by any of the teams outside the top 3.
Yep.
Fnatic, Origin both took them down. Origin way back in week number 1. But H2k here, they have given up a lot, and SK Gaming have realized the advantage they have. Starting to siege down this turret. 39 minutes on the clock, but they've got to be careful here. Candy Panda, he was healed right back up. Those shields are coming in handy.
Take a look at the top lane too, Pyra. First Nexus Tower coming under siege. Moving Odoamne over.
Yeah, Odo's got to go back and defend against that one, but that leaves them a man down here. Janus shield on the turret. The minion wave is a little slow to arrive, so Odo can get back.
BT finished
the defense.
On Ryu. Another BF sword there. A lot of damage.
Oh, looking for Yarnin. Can't quite get it. Lulex is the one who's going low.
Fox
Poked down by Fox. The Monsoon will keep him alive, but it's Fox that gets taken down as well. Yarnin, ace in the hole, follows through, but he's got a shield. Sven tanking the damage. They will finally find the inhibitor turret. All said and done. It's a 2-for-1 trade, and SK will find inhibitor number 2, looking to close out this game against H2k.
Yeah, 2-for-1 trade right there, but most importantly, they finish off the inhibitor because Candy Panda went untouched. A lot of free farm though. For H2k.
I guess you got to look at the bright side, Crepo. They're going to have it for some time. 2 inhibitors down. SK trying to bait H2k out of their own base. Baron will be up and live in another couple of minutes. Dragon a little bit longer than that. 40 minutes into this game, SK squeezing the life out of this once very dominant H2k team.
Yeah, eventually, Ryu's going to run out of item slots.
And then what?
2 of them left then. Game's probably over by then, actually, the way it's going so far. Let's see if H2k can bounce back. They've proven to be resilient so far. But they've been making the same mistakes over and over so far. I feel like Odoamne has been flashing forward a bit too much, playing a little overzealous. And right now they don't have the capability anymore to poke before these fights too much. They really want to find an opening on a squishy target and just one-shot him. They need to find Fox and Candy Panda, take him down, and then somehow survive the rest of the fight.
That is a big Gragas.
Yep.
I said what was Rio eating for breakfast. I don't know what Sven's Karen was, because he's definitely frontlining all of the damage from H2k as he's needed to do with that Iron Elixir.
Yep, and he's fulfilling his role perfectly. 11 assists out of 14 kills on the SK Gaming lineup. Itemized perfectly. Banshees blocks one of the pokes. Frozen Heart. Gives you a lot of armor.
Candy Pan is still taking the poke, but he's not as worried about it here as long as they can keep him safe behind the lines. He's able to throw out those ace in the holes. Odoamne is going to tank that one. A Shock Blast hits Sven Karen, but he's perfectly okay with that. Sundus to fall back to. Inhibitor respawns in the top, but SK are not letting the siege up.
They're not here to take down the middle of Inhibitor Tower. They're simply, it seems, waiting for objectives to spawn behind them so they can peel back. However, H2k managed to get a lot of wards in that area. SK hasn't cleaned them. I want to see if SK don't split up. They might not be able to force this. Let's see if they can.
To maybe try, but there's a lot of wave clear on the side of H2k. You can see those fast bombs.
Those traps are really annoying to deal with, actually. Candy Panda takes damage. As we hear them getting sprung, Sing is on trap duty. The side lane
down, but yes, this bottom lane is pushing very heavily. H2k know that they have to take a moment to move, but they can't catch SK Gaming the moment they go for the chase. SK poof vanishes. Baron's live again.
And Candy Panda, most importantly, picked up that Quicksilver Sash. That means the next time Odoamne flash snares him, he can QSS flash out himself. Get the Wild Growth potentially on him or on Fox on the Azir, and suddenly those two squishy carries become a lot harder to take down. Even in rated, can survive more than 2 pokes right now, which means Ryu is having a harder time carrying this mid to late game, and SK played it well. O2am is looking for the home guard TP, but he's on wave clear duty at the same time.
He's got to run out of the base to clear those minions away. That means H2k can't rely on that big wombo combo there, and SK aren't going to give him an opening to even try and fight. Vision control there is scattered from both teams, but SK Gaming are the ones that are putting him in the right places, not letting H2k do much of anything. Dragon will be up in another 30 seconds. This is Aspect.
Yep, this Dragon will be big because H2k managed to prevent the Baron with some vision. SK didn't want to commit yesterday. They, yeah, one could argue that throw is a big word, but they managed to squander their lead against Elements around the Baron, but they gladly wait for a Dragon instead, and crucial point of the game.
Tried to keep denying H2k a chance to get back into this one, but H2k equally need to deny this Dragon 5. SK Gaming, with that big buff that they would receive, be able to continue to force their way in. O2amne's around the side. H2k moving into position. Dragon started. It's going down so quickly, but they made their move. Dragon's glow. It's going to get picked up. There's Aspect. Can SK do it with this? They pick up 1 kill on Odo. They're going to look for 2. Lulix is down. Ryu's fired. It's Candy Panda running wild. Big shutdown on Ryu, courtesy of Fox, and a triple kill for Candy Panda.
Can SK do this, you ask? And yes, they can. 5 kills, 5 dragons, Aspect of the Dragon, and they're looking to close out this game.
Nothing stands in their way. 50 seconds on those death timers. Aspect of the Dragon, Aspect of SK Gaming. 45 minutes into this one, they're melting through the remaining objectives. Easy peasy, let's face tank ourselves some turrets. And SK Gaming, after a very rough start to this split, will finally manage to grab another win on the board and take down H2k.
And after such a victory, you have to put your shoes back on. Candy Panda says, one of those players that comfortably plays without his shoes. So if you're stuck in a bad start and you're at home and you're wondering, what do I do differently to win these games? Take off your shoes.
That's the secret.
Honestly, no, SK Gaming, impressive performance, honestly. They managed to find a good lead here. Svenskrin, man of the early game. Found himself in H2k's jungle, limited Lulix, who already sacrificed himself to get O2amne ahead. And H2k did what they actually did a lot, where they sacrificed O2amne to get a lead on the bot lane, but H2k got predicted by SK. O2amne went back up the top lane where he was even before. He now fell 20 CS down actually. They started a snowball, level 5, Svenskrin, level 3 Lulix at that point in the game. Big experience.
Decisions.
Disadvantage, and yeah, this man right here.
Squad.
Probably, he knows there's things to work on, but they've built themselves up quite the buffer in the standings. So.
You can afford to make a few mistakes, drop a few games, but nonetheless, if you want to separate yourselves from the pack and keep yourself safe in that top 3, you cannot do this consistently. So that's something they're going to have to keep their eyes on, is probably the hand on the shoulder of Ryu, the rest of the team in turn. Ryu really stepped up, played an amazing game on that Jace, but the rest of his team just couldn't do quite enough. And again, teamwork, decision-making. It seemed that they were a bit out of sync this game. It's not something that we've seen from H2k this split.
Yeah, we haven't. And I like this Jace pick. Honestly, I like it coming back to the LCS. Some buffs. One would argue minor, one would argue major, but I like an addition of another nice pick in the mid lane, but it seems to be, doing a lot of damage. But eventually you run out of damage. Eventually those shields from, and right is Lulu, honestly. SK seems to thrive whenever he gets to Lulu, so I wonder if teams pick up on that, start banning it out, because it complements their composition perfectly.
Absolutely, so it worked out well for them. For now, though, we're going to send it side stage. Repulse is standing by for a word with SK Gaming.
Thank you, Pyra. I'm joined here with Svenskrin, the jungler from SK, to talk about his win. First of all, congratulations. You just took down one of the top 3 teams here in Europe. And with that win, you've won 3 out of the 4 games you've last played. Has that changed the confidence on your team?
Yesterday, it was pretty hard losing because we kind of felt like we kind of won the game, but then we threw the game because we're pretty bad calls right now, and as well in this game we almost lost it, like we almost threw it, I mean. And I guess it gives us a lot more confidence, but after yesterday we kind of needed this win today to, otherwise it would be like false hope. But yeah, it feels good.
Well, you talked about almost losing the game, but there was a lot of hard places in that game to potentially lose the game. I want to talk about the Jace power spike because it was so incredibly difficult to deal with, but how did you deal with it?
I don't know. Jace is really, really frustrating to play against. Like, once the bot lane rotates up to mid and they start like grouping around mid, and every time he just hit one EQ and there was like one had to base, so we had to really play around with like, okay, can we try and engage before we get poked, or which we didn't do that well, but it still worked out.
Yeah, it worked out, but you're up against H2k, and the early game was so incredibly strong. How did you find the openings in the armor to push the early game win?
I felt like they were using Lulex in a pretty wrong way. Like, he had to cover for bot lane and top lane, otherwise they couldn't even farm after the lane swap. While I was pretty farmed up, I was like level 4 or 5 when he was level 2, because they just sacrificed everything for him, which kind of gave us an advantage. Like, he had to cover for bot, so we got a first blood there, and yeah, it just snowballed the game, I think.
Well, you talked about it snowballing the game. Did you feel like you had the game all the way through that, or was it when you managed to miraculously steal the Baron? Was that where you felt like you had the game? Was it just you had the game from the very start?
Obviously, we did not have the game from the very start. I feel like after we won a teamfight around Baron, and where we should have gotten the Baron kinda, then I feel like it was our game, but then something went wrong and we didn't get the Baron, but then after I stole it, then yeah, I kind of felt like it was our game.
Well, congratulations once again on the win, Svenskeren. We're going to shoot it over to the analyst desk to close out the day.
Thank you so much, Pulse. We're also joined by Crepo here to shine a light on that game. Must have been very interesting. You took off your jacket. Luckily, this is the last game of the day, because who knows what would happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought we were here to analyze League of Legends.
We are. We just listened to Svenskeren.
Talk about my clothes?
Well, actually, what I wanted to ask you, you mentioned in the game that you thought that SK was playing to the level of their opponent in H2k. In general, though, we had the same echoing here on SK Gaming, that especially in the early game, so much better than what we've seen from them so far.
Well, we talked about this before the game, how SK really wants standard lanes. That's where they can perform well. Freddy in the top lane had a great game against Odoamne. Bottom lane, the Lulu Caitlyn pick for them. So, like, they picked to have the strong standard lanes. H2k swapped in the start, but it was a very fast swap. They took the tower, left Odoamne top lane, and that meant we still got to see Lulu Caitlyn be the bully lane. And really, SK Gaming just from minute 5 got a fairly decent goal lead, and that delayed this whole power spike with the poke from H2k so much that it bought enough time for SK to keep extending the goal lead.
I have to kind of open up here and say I was wrong in the start of this game. I was thinking, can Freddy really face up against Odoamne? Yes, he can. Freddy is kind of back on track here. Odoamne is not having the best week when it comes to getting focused and then his performance on top of it. I think it's a blip, but still Freddy has raised his game significantly from weeks 1 to 3, now into 4 and 5. We're seeing a lot more of the old Freddy that we used to.
Yeah, and coming in week 3, we were talking about how Svenskeren and honestly Freddy too were just performing subpar. And you say Freddy, but I say Svenskeren honestly, because this game, he was spending so much time in H2k's blue jungle that it allowed Freddy to play with absolutely no restraints. He could move up forward whenever he wanted. He could bully that lane. And honestly, Svenskeren, for me, carried this match because not only did he give the start of that early game advantage, in addition to that, once it got rough, he stole that Baron. And that was crucial for this point in the game. And I feel if H2k got that Baron, it was likely over, because Baron with double poke is so hard to deal with. And those Baron buff minions make it so easy to deal with the poke as well. So very crucial objective right there.
But we've seen this problem before for H2k. When it is, standard lanes, okay, there was the lane swap for the first 4 minutes, but then back to standard after, where they don't tend to get any goal lead, and then suddenly Lulex becomes a very easy target for the enemy jungler. As you said, Svenskeren did a great job, but also every single lane. The mid lane was won by SK Gaming, the bot lane was won by them, and they used that really, really effectively. So Dragons became a big factor for them as well. This time around, they got 5 Dragons. Last time, they got denied it just in the very end.
Well, in my mind, too, you say Lulex to be scouted out by the enemy jungler, but they just, H2k, they tried and go for that dive bottom up against a Lulu and a Caitlyn, which didn't work out, which is very hard. And then they did it again. They just seemed kind of lost.
Yeah, I feel like whereas usually you see H2k go for that dive as a beautiful opening in the game, this time it felt forced. It was too predictable, and honestly, why would you go for the dive when you're running poke? If you want to group up, that's fine, but just group up in front of the tower. Poke them out, eventually take down the tower, whittle it down, but don't put yourself in a position where you can get punished. Usually when H2k dive, they do it with full information, deep vision, then the dive. Right now they had no vision. He walked in and he just got chunked out.
Especially also because SK Gaming ran a composition that had very little engage. I mean, it was basically a Gnar teeping in from a flank or Sven trying to flank. That was it. So H2k could have just chilled for 15 minutes, then start grouping, and SK wouldn't be able to do a whole lot. We saw it in the mid game. It became a problem, but SK was so far from the early game that they managed to still bounce back.
Yeah, very well done by SK Gaming in that one. Turning to the league overall, though, one player is our fantasy leader of the day. He shows no signs of slowing down as the summer continues, and it is SK's Fox. He racked up 6 kills and 11 assists as Azir in his team's second win this week for a total of 32 fantasy points. That is the highest today. Very impressive Azir play from him.
Yeah, I think he just had a lot of crucial ultimates that either blocked some of the H2k members or just bought enough time later in the game, especially once that poke wasn't enough to take down people half HP. That poke dropped down in value, and then suddenly Fox managed to keep Candy Panda alive. And that Caitlyn was enough to take down these towers, these inhibitors, and yeah, fantastic performance.
And I like that he's playing more teamfight mages. I mean, you don't have to go LeBlanc. No Zed coming in for himself.
Yeah.
That is something that really benefits him. No Zed. Don't want to see that. Teamfight mages, you can perform well on them, confident, big team fights as well. I mean, he's diving in and out, and honestly, great performance.
Yeah, fantastically. He is our fantasy leader, but now for a look at who's truly OP this week, we're going to hand it over to Quickshot.
Thank you very much, Sharks and guys, and a fantastic win. Probably the biggest upset of the summer split so far, in my opinion, with SK toppling H2k. We're going to take a look at some of the other players who we feel we should highlight this week as the 5 OP, as it were. Let's start with the man who had all the feels going. It is, of course, Jankos. He showed up big yesterday on Gragas, had a fantastic performance today. 86% kill participation, the highest of any jungler here in week 5. And with Jankos getting things rolling and getting his team on the go, he's going to be helping out his top laner, Steve, who turned around his opening 2 weeks' performances to get some really good kills on the board. Both games playing as Echo, 8, 6, and 15. And it was the first time we've seen Steve really get into the groove and really start to punish whoever was put up in front of him. The next man I want to talk about is Peke. And he played Vladimir, nothing too surprising, but what was great to see from Peke is just how he played aggressive early. The rest of his team's been carrying leading up till this week, and today and yesterday he picked up the slack. If you take a look at some of the damage on Varus, more than all of the Copenhagen Wolves combined. I think that's showing off, Peke. Now I'm going to challenge convention just a little bit and talk about some players who maybe didn't win all of their games, but I think they stepped up big. Betsy on Azir today, he picked up 7 kills on his Azir against Fnatic. He had some phenomenal Shurima shuffles. His positioning was good. And it's a performance that Betsy will need to keep doing if he wants to help turn Gambit's chances around here in the summer split. And there's one of those Azir plays we were talking about, really sticking it to Febiven. One more player, 0-2 on the week. However, a player that is showing a lot of versatility. Last week, Ryu played the Twisted Fate, the Lulu. This week, he plays the Varus, the Jace. These are vastly different play styles. 69% kill share, 36% team damage versus SK. And if the rest of H2k had shown up a little bit more, maybe they could have picked up that win. So for Ryu, it's all about keeping that level up and picking everyone else up around him. That's our OP5 for the week, but there's got to be one that rules them all. And I'm going to hand it back over to the analyst desk to figure out who's our MVP.
Thank you so much, Quickshot. Yeah, a lot of good players named already. The suspense. And, well, when it comes down to naming that MVP, we talked a lot about the Jace already, but one player really set the bar in week 5 for us. It is Fnatic's Febiven. Fantastic Jace performance. And Crepo, you called him underrated here before. I feel like, you know, when you do good in a good team, sometimes it's easy to...
Yeah, I got a lot of flack on Twitter where people were like, Crepo, of course nobody forgets to talk about Febiven, or no, he's not underrated because he sold Faker and all, but honestly, I just wanted to highlight that he's super solid.
Yep.
He is basically a player whose performance starts at like 60%. Every game you can rely on him to do slightly better than his opponent almost, and then it's just to see how far that varies up. In this game, he just played so fantastically well, and he straight up carried.
Yep, very well deserved. Guys, anything to add?
Super well deserved. One kind of honorable mention on what has, I guess, been a historic day overall. We've had a little bit of history here for ourselves in the European LCS. Fnatic now with the largest European win streak. Shout out to Yellowstar. I believe he has the highest KDA of anybody in the LCS right now. He's been a big, big part of Fnatic's performance as well.
Definitely. always is, goes without saying. Now, with the clock ticking as we close in on playoffs, here is where the teams stand. Fnatic still in first, 10 straight wins over there. And they're at that top 3, though. Origin jumping over H2k. Well, quite interesting. We're talking a lot about the unbeatable #1 and then the top 3 versus the rest of the 7. In H2k's plays, are you guys seeing maybe something being able to shuffle there from other teams?
I mean, I think we do see some weakness in the early game for H2k when they're not in the lane swaps for a longer period, or if they don't manage to get their goal lead in that lane swap itself. So there's definitely things to work on for them. But the thing is, they are currently so far ahead of at least their 7 other teams, we can say. So they're almost securing that playoff spot, that they can afford to lose a few games, figure out some mistakes maybe, and then fix them before playoffs. That's what they're looking towards. But obviously, you want to secure the top 2. You want to get straight into the semifinals, so there's a higher chance of going to Worlds as well.
Hey, maybe H2k and Fnatic are just learning how to play from behind. We saw Fnatic, it's almost too easy when they win the early game, so they set themselves behind a little bit, and they said, no, let's see how far we can go before we actually get close to losing a game. Perhaps H2k did the same. I doubt it. But yeah, they've shown some cracks, but honestly, they've also shown great growth over time. So I have no doubts that Prawley and the team will likely pick up that slack and hopefully fix it for next week.
Yeah, definitely. Finally, maybe about the middle of the table. I think you called Roccat as probably the team that could make that surge at the middle of the season and the end of the season. Hey, they've done it here.
They have. Again, it's 2 wins. I'm not ready to throw out a Roccat celebration quite yet, but they do, in all seriousness, look better this week. If they can keep it up, no reason why they won't be aiming for a good spot from the playoffs.
And the weird thing is, we have currently Giants sitting as #4 and 5-5, and yet it never really feels like Giants are that much better than the rest of the teams under them. I mean, fairly inconsistent performance still this week, then they lose the game today as well. And it's really weird to rate Giants. I mean, again, it's still better than what we expected coming into the split, but I still feel like all these positions all the way down can still change so much.
Yeah, super interesting. And with that in mind, we can look towards next week as we start with a clash between Gambit and the Copenhagen Wolves. And we'll have Giants who will face Fnatic. Tough task up ahead for them. And the Unicorns of Love will take on Origin. And that will also be our game of the week next week. So clear your calendar now. The action heats up here in Berlin next Thursday at 6 p.m. Central European Summertime. That is 9 a.m. Pacific. But of course, you don't have to wait that long for your League of Legends fix. There's some North American LCS to hold you over until then. Starting tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central European Time, noon Pacific. And we're going to have Team Impulse taking on Gravity, Liquid versus the #1 CLG, and Team Solo Mid squaring off against Team 8. Can't wait for those matchups as well. But that's it for us from here in Berlin. We're going to pass the LCS baton off to our friends. I knew it. Baton?
I'm Danish.
Go ahead.
Yeah, all right, anyway, to our friends over in Los Angeles, on behalf of myself and the entire European LCS broadcast team, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, we'll catch you on the Rift.
Baton.
Fnatic don't bring 100%, maybe Gambit will be picking up a win. Hooney are onto Gosu as well as Forgiven. He's been dropped as Camo Shot is trying to rampage across the fight.
What about Sivir?
Look at here. I got it. Azir low, help this guy. Azir, listen to flash.
Group up, go Hooney, go Hooney.
I'm moving.
Hooney, come.
10-0 in summer. The first team ever to do it.
Oh, Forest. I help. Is that?
Okay, go ahead. Nice.
I'm stunned for now.
5 combo.
Okay, coming for X.
IQ.
It's up.
Steve dives onto Power of Evil. Power of Evil had his flash but needed to run away. That petrifying gaze still not used. Roccat will pick up their first undefeated week in summer.
Let's go party.
Let's go.
You don't know other songs.
Come on,
not
Barbie,
Eye of the Tiger, not Barbie. Let's go party.
Oh, yeah.
And then you are in
At some point in my life, I knew this song. Most of it.
Don't be mad because I'm doing me better than you be doing you.
Oh, no. Ringer. I'm gonna zone.
Freeze!
Yeah.
Actually,
Oriana. No flash. Sniper. No scope.
Puts a pressure on H2k.
Absolutely. You're not safe in second place. They turn their attention to him. Nip's going to get the knock-up. JWoww goes Mega Narc.
Oh! Good job. Nice!
Keep going. I can Oriana.
Nice! A 2-0 week for Elements.
Good job. Give me a shield. 1 second. Nice.
They're going to look for 2. Lulix is down. Ryu's fired. It's Candy Panda running wild. And SK Gaming take down H2k.